What follows may not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
The world is full of stories. Stories of mysteries, of curiosities, of oddities. Join Kat and Jethro Gilligan-Toth for the strange, the bizarre, the unexpected, as they lift the lid and cautiously peer inside the Box of Oddities.
Oh my God, you guys, you're not going to believe this. This is hilarious. We just got back from a trip not long ago to see one of our favorite podcasts, My Favorite Murder.
Right. And so we went to Tampa and we stayed at a couple of nice hotels because it was my birthday. And we thought, hey, let's do this right. But our last night, we stayed at a hotel, and the stay was only going to be for like 8 hours. We needed to sleep and shower, and that was it. And then we were to the airport very early in the morning.
So I made the mistake of booking one of those, hey, buy this without knowing what it is deals on, one of those travel sites, Expedia.
Right. So we got there, and I cannot even.
It wasn't what we expected. We went to the room, we went inside, and I think the first tip-off was that the carpets were wet.
Right.
But only in one area. It wasn't like they had just washed the carpet.
No.
No, there was just one area that apparently some sort of liquid had been emitted or spilled.
Right. The tub was probably a third filled with water. With some hairs floating in it, so that was nice.
Yeah, and there were toenail clippings in the bed. And there was something on the wall that may or may not have been blood splatter. We're not sure.
It was pretty upsetting.
At that point, we were still willing to stay there until we saw hairs on the pillowcase. And, that to me is kind of ironic that the blood splatter didn't bother us as much as the hair on the pillowcase did.
Yeah. No, you could tell that the sheets had not been changed on the bed. And so, no, we didn't stay. It was straight out the back door for us. And then, so we got back and calmed down a little bit, and I wrote a TripAdvisor review, and the manager just wrote back, and it was all like, hey, we're sorry you had a subpar experience. We're working to make sure that all the things... No.
Sorry there were pubic hairs on the flush lid. Is there anything grosser than flush hairs?
No.
Flush hairs are gross.
I don't know. I would say the fact that the sheets had not been changed was probably grosser than flush hairs.
We're not sure, but we're pretty sure somebody had died in that room.
We're like 90% sure.
At some point.
Yeah.
And their belongings were sold off in the black market. Probably some of their organs.
It was too. It was an interesting moment for sure. It was also the moment that it was decided that Kat always double checks on hotels before they're booked.
Yeah, Jethro is no longer allowed to book hotels on his own. Oh, good Lord.
That was fun.
Yeah, we did have a good time, though, at My Favorite Murder.
Oh, gosh, yes. Those ladies are my favorites.
They're awesome.
If you've not checked out My Favorite Murder podcast, do it. It's not for everyone, of course. It is about murder, true crime, and also it's a comedy podcast. So you have to be able to handle both.
Right. But check it out. I think you'd enjoy it. This podcast, as you know, is called The Box of Oddities, and we explore strange stories, bizarre situations, unexplained events, whether they be just macabre or dark or mysterious or fun. Yeah,
sometimes they're just interesting things. Yeah. So we do this anyway. This is one of those things that we discovered. This is how we bond and love each other, is by sharing horrible stories. and
we feel that you're probably like us. So this is a podcast for us. This is our podcast for our people.
Yep.
And you are one of them, whether you knew it or not. You can find us on theboxofoddities.com. All of our social media links are there. If you have an idea for a topic that you'd like us to explore, maybe something weird happened in your area,
Yeah.
that we don't know about and you want us to maybe explore it a little bit, you can send your correspondence to curator@theboxofoddities.com. All right. Who goes first this week? Do we spin the big blue glass head?
I don't know. Were we gonna? Is your story fun?
I don't know. That's yet to be determined, young lady.
I don't know. All right. I think I should go first anyway.
Okay.
And here's why.
Okay.
It's been busy. It's been a busy couple of weeks, and things have been kind of nutty at our house. And I didn't put a lot of effort into this one.
So you want to go first?
Yeah, I
Okay.
definitely want to go first.
So I'll just put the big blue glass head over here, and you go first.
Yes, please.
Okay.
It's just one of those things that sometimes you just don't. I'm not giving you excuses as to why I didn't put a lot of effort into it. I'm just being honest with you about the fact that I didn't put a lot of effort into it. Okay, here we go. The universe hates the saxophone.
Okay.
Okay.
I didn't realize that the universe had a preference
Yeah.
to woodwind.
So Antoine Joseph Sax was born November 6th, 1814, which, by the way, my birthday, November 6th. Antoine Sax and I share a birthday. It's very exciting. He was born in what is now Belgium to Charles Joseph Sax and his wife. His name was Antoine, but they referred to him as Adolphe from childhood. I never found out why. It seems like a weird nickname, Antoine to Adolphe.
Those were different days.
I guess. His father and mother were instrument designers who had made several changes to the design of the French horn. And Adolphe began making his own instruments at an early age, entering 2 of his flutes and a clarinet into competition at the age of 15, which is pretty impressive. He subsequently studied performance on those instruments as well as voice at the Royal Conservatory of Brussels. After leaving the Royal Conservatory of Brussels, he began to experiment with new designs. His parents continued to make conventional instruments to bring in money. And around 1840, he developed the instrument for which he is best known, the saxophone.
That's what year?
1840.
For some reason, I thought that saxophones were around much longer than that.
No, it's a relatively new instrument, and I say new in quotation marks. The patent for it was June 28th, 1846. The saxophone was invented for use in both orchestras and military bands. The saxophone was Sax's signature accomplishment and created his reputation more than any other thing, even though he did work with a lot of instruments. It helped secure him a job teaching at the Paris Conservatory in 1857. Now, his parents had 11 children, of which only 4 survived. And this is explained a lot by this. When Adolphe Sax was 2 years old, he fell out of a second-story window and fractured his skull. He was actually unable to walk for some time. He had a really hard time functioning normally as a child after that for a short period of time. But he recovered, and he did all right. Then when he was 6 years old, he mistakenly drank water that had been vitriolized, which I had to look up what that means.
What does that mean?
It basically means it was water mixed with boric acid.
Why?
Yeah.
Why was that lying around in the Sax household?
I figure they were making instruments. Maybe there had to be some sort of welding. I don't know. But not long after that, he swallowed a bunch of pins, too.
What?
Yep.
So he fell out of the window and cracked his skull.
Right.
He drank like battery acid.
Right.
And then swallowed a bunch of pins.
Mm-hmm. When he was 9 years old, he fell off a small cliff and broke his leg. It was actually shocking. That was the only injury that resulted from that fall because it was a pretty decent fall. Then when he was 11, he contracted measles and was in a coma for 9 days. He, though, came out of the coma, recovered well, and went on to go back to school. Then when he was 14 years old, he got his arm caught in a carriage door, was dragged for a bit.
Good
He
Lord.
broke his arm, but other than that, handled that incident pretty well. When he was 19 years old, he was struck on the head by a falling brick, walking past some construction, and bricks fell onto him.
It's not funny, I'm sorry.
And no, it is. This is ridiculous.
It's funny because it happened 150 years ago.
When he was 23 years old, he almost died from the effects of tainted wine and
I didn't
was
know
hospitalized.
they made wine out of taint.
Stop it.
That's so gross.
You are gross,
What's-
yes.
Carry on.
He also, as a young child, fell onto a hot cast iron frying pan, badly burning a good portion of his side. He survived poisoning and suffocation in his own bedroom where varnishes were kept during the night. He became overcome with the fumes of them and had to be hospitalized. His mother once said, "He is God's condemned child. He will not live." And his neighbors referred to him as Little Sax, the ghost.
Wow.
At one point, he fell into a river, barely survived a drowning. And then when he was 29, he invented the saxophone.
The saxophone, the cursed instrument. Good God! How do we know all these things? Did his parents keep a log? Today, little Adolf drank battery acid and was flattened by a carriage.
I think because of the frequency of these events, people started taking note. And because his parents were kind of well known, and because so many of the kids in their family died, it was documented.
So it's kind of like their version of the Kennedy curse.
I guess. So yeah, between the years of 1853 and 1858, Sachs suffered from lip cancer twice, but made a full recovery. And then he died in complete poverty in 1894 after he was driven to bankruptcy twice because of legal back and forths due to patents. And that's that.
You know what would have made that story even better?
Something nice happened?
No, if he had died by choking on a saxophone reed.
Stop.
Just kind of bring it all full circle. That would have been beautiful.
The universe going, see?
Yeah.
I mean, we tried to tell you.
The end.
The end.
God.
Yeah.
How old was he when he died?
He was 75.
75 years old.
Yeah.
And they kept a log of his injuries.
Well, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I suppose. Good God.
I just, like I said, this was just a quickie that I found incredibly interesting. And I couldn't help but think, the universe hates the saxophone.
Certainly seems that way, doesn't it? I would have thought the universe would have hated the clarinet more.
Oh?
The clarinet, the most annoying instrument ever.
That's a very strong opinion you have about the clarinet.
I hate woodwind instruments. No, I don't. Wow, that's quite a story.
Right? I'm sorry that it wasn't more thorough, but like I said, meh. This is what I have for you.
You're listening to The Box of Oddities. Nothing better to do?
Here are 5 weird facts really quick. Number 5, most toilets flush in E flat.
Number 4, approximately 40,000 Americans are injured by toilets each year.
Number 3, Captain Crunch's full name is Horatio Magellan Crunch.
I knew that.
You did not.
Number 2, if a female ferret does not have sex for a year, she will die.
And number 1, there's a town in Canada called Dildo. I wonder if that's in Regina. Is it Regina or Regina?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Never mind.
The Box of Oddities with Kat and Jethro Gilligan Toth.
You know, it's interesting that you talked about the guy who invented the saxophone and living a cursed life, and so many terrible things happened to him. It kind of ties in a little bit to my topic today, which is I'm calling it "What a Way to Go."
Oh.
These are unusual and highly ironic ways that people have died.
I love it. Oh, this is very exciting.
All right, there's this guy. I'm going to start with this one. This guy, his name was Sean Moylan.
Sean.
Sean. And sadly, Sean leapt to his death off the Golden Gate Bridge.
Oh.
One of at least 1,600 suicides by Golden Gate Bridge up until that point. The ironic part was that he climbed over the suicide barrier that was put up 6 years before. They had erected a suicide barrier because it's such a problem, people jumping off the bridge all the time.
Sure.
And a longtime member of the board of directors for the San Francisco Golden Gate District, a guy named John Moylan, was the one who tirelessly fought to erect the suicide barrier. And it was put up 6 years before this guy jumped off. And the ironic part is the guy who put the barrier up was his grandfather.
Oh, my goodness.
How pissed do you think he was?
Yeah. Now, I told you.
You kids stay off the bridge. There's a guy named Gary Hoy who was an attorney. This is according to Wikipedia. He was an attorney at a law firm called Holden Day Wilson in Toronto. And their office was in this giant skyscraper. And they were on the 24th floor. And they had, of course, as many skyscrapers have, shatterproof glass windows everywhere. And so this guy had gotten into a habit of showing people how sturdy the glass windows were in the boardroom, where he would like run full tilt in the boardroom and leap against the window and bounce off.
Oh, no.
Yeah. But apparently he did it too many times because it started to loosen the pane of glass. And so one Friday night during a party, he did it again.
No.
Bounced off the glass the first time. However, he did it a second time and crashed right through the middle of the glass. The glass didn't break. It just came out of the encasement. And he fell 24 floors to the ground and, of course, died. But the glass didn't break.
Oh. Wow. Now, of course, it should be noted, we do not think that these people's deaths are funny.
Just ironic.
It's important that you understand that we recognize the value of life. It's just, you cannot deny the fact that this is just interesting.
Eugene Ursinski. He's a pioneer of sleep research. He was a graduate of the University of Chicago in 1953. He's the guy that discovered REM sleep, REM sleep. He was generally considered to be the founder of modern sleep research. He died on July 22nd, 1988, when his car hit a tree after he fell asleep driving.
No.
Yep.
Oh, that's weird.
Irony. Our next case involves a guy named Clement Laird. Let's see if I can pronounce his name. I don't know how to pronounce his name. It's like Vallandigham. Or Vallandigham, Vallandigham. He was an Ohio politician in the 1800s. He was a leader of the Copperhead faction of the anti-war Democrats during the Civil War. He served 2 terms in the United States House of Representatives. But his main thing was he was an attorney.
Okay.
He died in 1871 in Ohio at the age of 50. He was representing a defendant named Thomas McGahan. It was a murder case. Thomas allegedly had shot a man in a barroom brawl in Ohio, and Vallandigham, or however you say his name, was trying to show that it was accidental. And so he had the revolver, and he was demonstrating to the jury how it could accidentally go off, and it accidentally went off, shot him in the head, and killed him.
Oh, my goodness.
The good news is the defendant was acquitted.
That's good, I guess.
Yeah. Now, here's another name I can't even begin to pronounce. Her name was Fegiu Makayetsyavana. It's a Russian name.
Sure.
My apologies. She was 49, and she was declared dead at the hospital, died of a heart ailment.
Aw.
Or at least that's what they thought. They were at the funeral, and they were going by the coffin, and they were all saying prayers for her soul.
Sure.
All of a sudden, they could hear her screaming inside the coffin. So they lifted up the lid, and she wasn't dead. She woke up in the coffin hearing people praying for her soul, freaked out, and had a heart attack and died. For real this time.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, they took her to the hospital after she had collapsed. Her husband said her eyes fluttered and we immediately rushed her back to the hospital, but she only lived another 12 minutes in intensive care before she died again, and this time for good. He said, quote, "I am very angry and want answers."
Sure. Yeah.
Hospital spokesman said, "We are carrying out an investigation." This is according to the Daily Mail.
My goodness. When was this?
This was 2011.
Oh, my goodness.
Not that long ago.
No.
All right, here's my favorite and final ironic death. In 1977, a guy named Michael Anderson Sloan was arrested for robbing a woman at knife point. He was sentenced to jail, went to prison. He was, by all accounts, pretty well behaved, and they let him out on a work release program. While he was on his work release program, he murdered Mary Elizabeth Royam, who was 24. Ms. Royam's body was found in her West Columbia, South Carolina apartment. She had been sexually assaulted and beaten to death with an electric iron. So Michael Anderson Godwin was sentenced to die in the electric chair. He went on trial in 1981. He was convicted of murder and sexual assault. And they said, you're going to be sitting in old Sparky. You're going to die in the electric chair. But there was some sort of a technicality. And in 1983, he went back to the appeals court and they threw out the sexual assault charge on a technicality. And so they changed his sentence from death sentence in electric chair to simply life in prison.
Okay.
And a lot of people were really pissed off about that because it was, I guess, a technicality.
Right.
And the woman had been sexually assaulted, but they couldn't, without a shadow of a doubt, say it was, whatever. But most people felt it was pretty obviously that's what happened. So he gets his death sentence commuted to life in prison. He goes back to prison. Years go by, a few years, 6, in fact. By all accounts, he was a productive prisoner. He worked on getting his degree. He studied. He was a model prisoner, more or less.
Sure.
Then one day in 1989, according to press reports, he was in his jail cell, and he was trying to fix a broken set of headphones that he had. They were plugged into a TV. And he was sitting on its toilet, which was a metal toilet in the cell. He's sitting there naked, taking a dump, and working on his headphones. And he made the mistake of biting into one of the wires while it was plugged in to the TV set.
Yeah.
And he electrocuted himself sitting on the toilet. See, he made his own electric chair.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Very happy about that.
Are you happy about that one?
Yep.
You can laugh about that one.
I like that one.
Okay, that's a good one.
That's good.
Yeah. Yeah, and so the prison authorities said it was a very unusual accident.
Sure.
Yeah.
I bet.
They said the entire inside of his mouth was just fried.
Oh, yeah, that's
just
what happens.
Burned. Yeah. Do not, under any circumstances, bite into an electric cable while sitting naked on a prison flush that's made out of metal. Those are our words of advice to you, my friends.
Yes, we are always here for you and giving out great advice.
If you have the uncontrollable urge to do that, to sit on a metal toilet and bite into an electrical wire, please feel free to give us a call.
Yeah.
Or send us an email, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. We're here.
We'll say no, don't do that.
In fact, let's say it now.
No, don't do that. Don't do that.
That's just bad news.
Yeah.
But do this. Send us an email at curator@theboxofoddities.com.
I see what you did there. Nice segue.
Thank you.
The don't do and then right into the do-dos.
Do-dos, yeah. Do-do.
Do's.
Theboxofoddities.com, theboxofoddities.com. All the information is there for you, and we do appreciate it. And we look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you so much.
And so, let it be known that the Box of Oddities belongs to you, and its fate is in your hands. Therefore, it's been requested by those of whom I report to beseech you for assistance. The Box of Oddities is free. We ask but one thing of you, to provide a 5-star rating and a positive review. True, that is 2 things. However, 'tis merely a 5-star rating and a positive review. Also, subscribe to us. Okay, so 3 things is all we ask. 3 things and 3 things only. Henceforth, the Box of Oddities commits to the telling of stories, stories of the strange, the bizarre, the unexpected. We wish to offer our deeply felt gratitude and appreciation for your patronage. TheBoxOfOddities.com. On Facebook at facebook.com/Box of Oddities Podcast. On Twitter at Box of Oddities. And Instagram at Box of Oddities Podcast. Copyright 2018. All rights reserved.